What's going on, YouTube? Got another knife review here for you. This is a special one given that this knife is not mine, but a friend's. He let me check it out before he plans on selling it, so definitely very lucky to have a chance to be able to handle one of these knives. If you don't know already, this is the Peter Rassenti. This is the TAD version, Triple Aught Design version of his Snafu model. Snafu is, I think, his latest iteration of knives that he's been making. If you've followed my channel for a while, one of the first customs that I've ever owned was the Peter Rassenti Alpha Hunter collaboration called the Bulletproof. And it was a monster blade with, titanium frame lock with carbon fiber, kind of a rock patterned carbon fiber, and then it had a large 4-inch S90V blade. That being, I think that was one of Peter's first runs of knives, and they were all handmade, very very rough. But I think even from that I think from that review, I was very impressed. One, because I was new at knives, and then two, it was my first custom. But in reality, in hindsight, it was very unrefined for sure. There's a lot of, I don't want to say defects, but again, a lot of things, a lot of kinks maybe in the knife that haven't been worked out yet. And that was to be understood since Peter was a new knife maker at the time. From Canada, just in case you guys were wondering. So a lot of great Canadian knife makers that are now pretty prevalent. When you think of John Grimsmo, when you think of Brian Ty, I don't know. There's a lot that are out there. So, but Peter Rassenti, I think, is leading the way in terms of his new models. A lot of popular ones, especially when it comes to integrals. His Alpha integral has always been one of my more recent grails. I always liked that organic look for some reason. That's an integral. He's got the Druid, which is a smaller Wharncliffe style blade, which is also an integral. And then, again, like I said, the most recent, and to me, the most aesthetically pleasing knife out of his entire lineup, the Snafu. So it stood, I can't remember what it stood for, but it is an acronym for something. So if any of you guys remember what it was, please do let me know. Brief rundown on this knife. You got basically a 4-inch blade. I've seen online anywhere between 3.9 to 4 1/8 inch. But when I measured it out from this point right here, from this part of the frame to the blade, it looked like 3.9. If you measure from the pivot, then it's about a 4 1/4 to 4 1/2 inch blade. So the measurements will vary. The overall length, this is a relatively large blade at 9 inches overall length. But again, overall, just incredibly beautiful. Integral, if you guys aren't familiar, meaning that it is milled from one single piece of titanium. So that's a pretty thick chunk of titanium, whereas most other knives, even say like Hoback, as thick of titanium scales as these are, these being I think 0.22, so 220 thou thick titanium, it still doesn't compare in terms of one solid piece of titanium here, in this length, or in this width and thickness. I was looking at Jim Skelton's review of the Snafu, and one of my friends, Chris, who also lives near me, was talking about the intricacies and in terms of the design of integrals. And he was just talking about how his conversation with Peter Rassenti was saying that it takes 3 times the material, 3 times the amount of time and work to be able to mill out all this material on this integral. And again, I think I was mentioning this on my review of the Michael Raymond Astrella. After they cut out this lock bar relief here, how do they bend this bar into the frame? I'm still dumbfounded. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's by heat or whatnot, but you know, and you're talking about, this is a rock solid, like absolutely no, I mean, yeah, no blade play whatsoever in this knife. So one of the most solid knives that I've ever handled. Ergonomics on this knife as well are absolutely fantastic. One of the most comfortable knives. I mean, I can bear down on this and absolutely no hot spots in this knife whatsoever. Even in, you know, when you're bearing down on the choil, no hot spots. Reverse grip, same thing. Just this rounded spine on this integral is so comfortable. It's completely rounded. You know, this is all done by hand, I believe. I'm pretty sure that, you know, Peter's work is all done by hand, which makes it pretty special. And given that fact, you know, I'll point out a couple of maybe unrefined things. You know, if you're to look at, you know, some other handwork, say like by Mayo, and, you know, again, if you look at Jim's review on all those Mayos, that hour-long 3-part review, that was crazy, Jim. But when you look at all the holes on the inside, on the outside, everything is chamfered, everything is smoothed out. And you know, this one, there's a number of, I guess, again, a little unrefined things on this knife that I'll point out in a second. But inside this knife, you're running GTC bearings. So these are Gus Caccini's, you know, his own custom bearings that he made himself and that he markets, and so he licenses them out for custom makers to use, maybe even companies to use. I'm not positive on that, but these are probably one of the smoothest bearings I've ever felt. Maybe the only one smoother, maybe it was the Grimsmo that I had before, but this one literally falls effortlessly. I mean, my other knives, they'll fall. You know, the whale shark fall is on ceramic bearings, but you see I have to shake this quite a bit for it to go down. And while it's very smooth, doesn't flip nearly as well as the Rassenti. Jake's using the standard nylon race bearings, and this is extremely smooth, but you're also talking about, you know, being coupled with HRD, the whole Hoback roller detent. So this one does fall extremely easily into its frame. The detent is not quite as good on this one, and I might be able to adjust that on the HRD. But on this knife, flips out with extreme authority. Maybe my Daiware Hyper 90, that one actually flips maybe a little bit harder. But when you really bear down on this and overcome that detent, it really flings out. I can't compare it to, say, the RJ Martin Q36 because I've never owned one, but I heard that one flips like a monster. These other ones, say the Bodega, you know, these flip extremely well as well. So, you know, when you're coming to or comparing such high-end knives, such as these, it's hard to complain, you know, one flipping worse or not as well as the other, but definitely the Snafu is up there with the rest of them, and incredibly, yeah, it's incredibly comfortable. So in terms of design elements, you know, for the TAD design, you do have the triple fullers. The normal Rassenti typically has 4 different fullers lined up in different areas on the frame. So there's nothing too special other than the acid or etched triple Aught Design. So you know, when you're buying it directly from triple Aught Design, you know, it's $1,100. So it's comparable with all the other Snafus that you see from other dealers out there. I don't know what this would be direct from Peter. I'm still kicking myself for not jumping on the ball to get his alphas from a long time ago. I contacted him, and I think it was six or 700 at the time. So man, like when you think about that now, that would have been a huge score. But anyway, that was a little bit before he was too well known, after I had experienced his the Alpha Hunter collaboration. I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, you got Peter Rassenti's logo inside the lock bar relief, which I like. I love the fact that he put it in there, so it's very inconspicuous. This pocket clip is made from a one single billet of titanium right there. You do have this very hard jimping on here. If you were to pull back, it would really cut into your finger. That would be a very extreme hot spot. But as it stands, typically, if you're holding a reverse grip, this is where it's going to be. No hot spots to speak of. So, again, extremely comfortable blade. Definitely, Peter Rassenti, when I look at how his work has progressed over the years, I only see it getting better and better. A lot of, his fit is way better now than it was a year, maybe even a year and a half ago. Design features, again, I feel like the Snafu is by far the most attractive blade that he's put out to date. Two really quick things, I guess maybe only one little thing, is just the grind. Some people say that, for a custom knife, they expect the grind to be, off, and they're, more forgiving of that. At this price of $1,100 from TAD, if you're buying California, then you're talking about, $1,200 because of the tax. You're talking about you're probably expecting perfection, in that grind, but you can see there's a little bit of, asymmetry on the grinds here. So like right here and right here is where the grind on the swedge starts. The swedge ends a little bit off where the fullers are. So it's just slightly off. Maybe you would expect that to be perfect from a custom maker. The other thing is the blade edge. I've stropped this one, so it is a little bit sharper. But definitely when I was looking at it, when my friend, first gave it to me, was really dull. So I'm not going to put it on the wicked edge or anything like that. Because he is planning on selling this. So he's going to make a pretty penny off it for sure, due to its rarity, due to just the fact that it's an integral. Integral, you're always going to pay a premium, But when I say compare it to, unfortunately my Michael Raymond Astrella is gone now. But when I compare it to that, the Astrella, honestly, in my opinion, was perfect. The grind lines are perfect. The way the frame was cut out was perfect. Even like this, the lanyard hole in the back of the spine. On the outside, it's smooth, but when you look on the inside here, I don't know if there's enough light. You can see right there, you get a lot of the burring of the hole as it was drilled. I'm assuming drilled through this way, and it wasn't filed out or smoothed out. Whereas, for an Astrella, all those lines, everything that's cut out, or I can even imagine a Loxa, all those things are going to be smooth and sanded down and whatnot. So, I don't know, maybe a couple of the little things that Peter's going to be refining, as he continues to gain more and more experience as a knife maker. But everything that I've heard, from people going to custom knife shows, when they talk with Peter, or even videos that I've seen with, little short interviews with him, very, very cordial, nice gentleman out of Canada. So, yeah, just one of the other knife makers to continue to look out for. I think Peter and Jake were one of the first to, do a Alpha Hunter Tactical Design collaboration, so they were doing knives. And that's how I was introduced to Peter R. a long time ago, and Jake as well. So anyway, that's my short little review on the TAD version of the Snafu. Definitely an awesome blade. I love this one. This is a grail. Tried to convince my friend to trade some of my knives for it, but wisely he's going to sell this off to make some of his money back and whatnot. So anyway, that's my take on the Peter Rassenti Snafu. Let me know what you guys think on the comments down below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next vid. Take care.